Caseus, Clone Wars. Part 2, The Pirates of Valcor. Chapter 3. Caseus and Corbin were thrown into a holding cell. The ray shields were activated, and the guards left them. Caseus struggled with his restraints and lifted himself into a seated position. Corbin was slowly waking up. Corbin! Corbin, are you all right? Corbin groaned and lifted his head. His eye was bleeding and swollen shut. With his one good eye, he glared at Caseus. Why? Why didn't you help me? They were going to kill our troops. Look what happened. They're dead, and you let them die. We could have fought back. We could have saved them. Caseus felt awful. He couldn't think of what to say. I was trying to do what I thought was right. A lot of good that's done in the past, huh? Corbin gestured to his arm as Caseus felt a pit form in his stomach. Corbin turned away from Caseus and faced the wall. Caseus sat in silence. Corbin's words cut deep. The ship was soon on the move. They would be jumping to light speed soon. A few minutes of unbearable silence passed before the door opened. Caseus looked up, expecting to see one of the pirates. Instead, it was the boy from earlier, the one who was rummaging through their ship. You! Corbin looked at the boy with fury in his eyes. You little scrag rat! I knew you were up to no good! The boy looked down and held out 2 pieces of fruit from their relief shipment and a canister of water. Slowly he walked to the ray shields and opened a small slot in the door, sliding the food through to them. My name is Daros. I'm sorry. You're sorry? You got our men killed. And you've doomed us to slavery in Kessel's spice mines, and you're sorry? Corbin, you shut your mouth, Caseus. Don't you dare try to stick your neck out for this little monster. I had to. I was taken in by the Valcor pirates when I was little. They've kept me alive and given me a place amongst them. I placed a tracker on your shuttle for them. You got 2 good men killed. They were going to raid the village. But when they found out there were Jedi involved, they decided to capture you. I had to do it. Caseus looked at Corbin. Daros' words didn't sway him. He looked at the fruit and stomped it with his foot. Get out. Daros walked to the door and turned around. That food is more than I've eaten in a week. He then left Caseus and Corbin in their cell. Corbin, I know you don't want to hear from me right now. Good instinct, Caseus. You should follow it and stay quiet. But that kid might be our way out of here. Absolutely not. You've caused us enough trouble already. Now shut up and let me think of a plan. Caseus was beginning to get irritated by Corbin's words. You can't pin this whole thing on me, Corbin, and you know it. If we want to get out, the last thing we should be doing is squabbling like this. What would Master Terran say? Corbin shot a terrible gaze towards his childhood friend. Don't you talk about my master like you know him. He would have taken action back there, because he knows as well as I do that the galaxy is a cruel place. The only thing these pirates understand is force, but you chose to be a coward. And why? Because you think you can reason with people like this? You aren't cut out for war, Caseus. You're soft. Your master coddles you and treats you like a delicate flower. Are you insulting my master, Corbin? Think carefully about what you say next. You think my master coddles me? I've survived a Nexu, falling from a ship, bounty hunters, Trandoshans, and Dravok, all because of her training. And look at you. You're one of the most talented Jedi I know. And yet when things go wrong, you look for someone else to blame besides yourself. I know you're tired of fighting this war, but wake up, Corbin. You're not the only one who's affected here. Corbin and Caseus glared at each other as the silence crept back into the room. Corbin, we knew this war was going to be tough. Neither of us wanted it to come to this. But now that it's happened and we're caught in the midst of it all, we need to stay strong for the Republic. But we can't do that in the spice mines of Kessel. We need to get out of here. Corbin stared at Caseus before slowly taking a breath. Do you have any ideas? Just one, and it requires the kid. If he opens the doors, we can get free. And what about our restraints? There's a fusion cutter over there in the toolbox in the corner. We can use that to cut ourselves free. And the guards? We'll sneak around them. We'll need to get to the captain's quarters and get our lightsabers. With no weapons, we don't have a choice. Fine. So what? We just wait for the kid to come back? That's all we can do right now. Caseus sat still and tried to clear his mind. An hour soon passed before the silence was broken. Corbin sighed in frustration. Look, I'm sorry. I'm so tired. I'm so angry. Caseus looked over to his friend. He was still obviously upset, but at the very least they were on better terms than a little while ago. I understand, Corbin. Trust me, I do. But you need to learn to let go of your anger. If you don't, you'll only end up in a bad place. Anger and aggression are not emotions we should be dealing in. That's easier said than done. Especially with someone like Master Terran on your back all the time. I'd never say this in front of him. But there's days where I wish I wasn't his student. Don't get me wrong, I've learned so much from him, and he's been there for me when I needed guidance. But I don't know. He acts like nothing I do is ever good enough. I'm one of the top duelists amongst the Padawans in the Jedi Temple, and even that's not enough. The guy expects perfection. And the more I try to achieve it, the more I mess up, and the more disappointed he becomes. Add to this, the war is draining me, and I'm just become someone I hate seeing in the mirror. A stranger. A failure. Caseus shuffled over to Corbin and looked at him. Corbin, you're not a failure. Look at everything you've overcome. You helped Sarah and I stop an attack on the Jedi Temple. You're one of the most gifted Padawans the Order has seen in years. And your heart bleeds for the innocent people of the galaxy. You're no failure, Corbin. You're my friend. And you're a better Jedi than I'll ever be. Well, don't sell yourself short, Caseus, but thank you. Caseus smiled reassuringly to Corbin, who closed his eyes and sat against the wall. Good idea. We should try to recover a bit of strength. Not like we're going anywhere yet. Caseus closed his eyes and began to meditate. His thoughts turned to his master. If she was right, Herdessa would soon be liberated. And if they didn't find a way out, how would she be able to find them? He thought about Sarah. She'd have a few choice words about their current predicament. But even just to hear her would be of comfort. Caseus. Caseus was awakened from his meditation. That story you told back at the camp. Where did you come up with that? Caseus could feel a small pit form in his stomach. It just came to me. Right. Before the situation could grow even more awkward, they heard the door open once again. It was one of the pirates. You should know that kidnapping 2 Jedi will make you some very powerful enemies. The pirate sat on a crate and drank from a glass bottle. We've made far more powerful enemies than the Jedi, boy. I fear not the Jedi. I fear those who would skin us alive and leave our corpses to the vermin. Corbin gazed at the pirate with fury in his eyes. What makes you think we wouldn't do the same? Because your Jedi religion doesn't allow it. You're not capable of such acts. The pirate laughed and continued to drink. Suddenly he found himself choking. His hands went to his throat as he gasped for air. You have no idea what I'm capable of. Caseus looked at Corbin in horror. He knew what Corbin was doing. He was using the Force to suffocate this pirate. Corbin, let him go! Corbin didn't stop. He kept his focus, rage filling his heart. Corbin! Just as the pirate began to go limp, Corbin came to his senses and let go. The scoundrel sat on his knees, coughing and gasping. You sneaky little creature. The door opened again as Daros entered. Vinda, are you okay? The boy ran to the pirate, who violently shoved him down. Get off me! You keep an eye on them. I'll be back. We'll see how tough this boy is when I rip his tongue out. Vinda left the quarters as Daros looked at the cell. You shouldn't have done that. He means it, you know. He'll send you to Kessel without your eyes if he wants to. I'm not afraid of him. You should be. He's killed for far less. Daros, look at me. This is no place for us, and it's certainly no place for you. You need to help us get out of here. No way! Do you know what they'd do to me if I helped you? I got in enough trouble for bringing you food. Daros showed a large burn on the side of his neck. I can't help you. Caseus stood up. Daros, look at me. These people are holding you prisoner here. They are not your friends. They're your captors. You have a chance to get out of here, and we'll help you. But you need to help us first. If you don't, then we end up slaves in the spice mines, and you're stuck here until they decide to kill you. You know your way around the ship. If you can get us out of here and help us get our weapons, I promise you, we'll get you somewhere safe where they won't ever find you. Daros looked at the cell and back to the door. If I help you, they'll kill me. I don't want to die. I promise you, I won't let them hurt you anymore. You have my word as a Jedi. Daros looked at Corbin. What about him? Caseus looked over at his fellow Padawan. Get us out of this cell, and all is forgiven. Daros thought for a moment and walked to the controls for the ray shields, hesitating briefly before shutting the power down. The shields deactivated, and Caseus and Corbin walked out. We need to get out of these restraints. Daros, grab the fusion cutter over there. Daros quickly ran to the toolbox and grabbed the fusion cutter. As he did, the door opened and Vinda stepped in. You little traitor! Daros stood in terror as Vinda rushed towards him wielding a vibroblade. Thinking quickly, Corbin kicked a crate of tools out in front of Vinda, who was knocked over by the impact. Caseus leapt forward, his arms still restrained, and threw his body on top of Vinda, who was now flailing, and managed to push Caseus off, pinning him to the floor. As he raised his blade, Corbin rushed forward, thrusting his knee into the side of the pirate's skull and knocking him over. Quick! Cut the restraints! Vinda wouldn't allow it. He quickly got up and rushed towards Daros, but Caseus managed to kick his foot out, hitting Vinda in the back of his knee, bringing him to the ground momentarily. Hurry! Daros ran to Caseus with the fusion cutter, but Vinda grabbed the boy by the back of his leg, causing him to drop the fusion cutter, and stabbed, giving Daros a nasty cut on the back of his leg. Daros screamed as Corbin managed to hoist himself to his feet, running at Vinda and kicking him full force in his chest. Vinda was now on the ground. Do it now! Daros reached for the fusion cutter, but Vinda was once again on his feet, kicking Corbin in the jaw, stunning him. He reached for Daros and grabbed his ankle, raising his blade for a killing blow, but Daros grabbed the fusion cutter just in time and activated the plasma torch, aiming at Vinda's eyes, blinding him instantly and searing his face. Daros pulled away quickly and started cutting through Caseus' restraints. Vinda reached for whatever he could and found a metal pipe. Just as Caseus' restraints were nearly cut, Vinda swung wildly and knocked Daros down, hitting him in the back. Caseus tried to break the weakened restraints, but Vinda used his keen hearing and found Caseus on the floor. He leapt on top, choking the life out of him, cursing at him in his native tongue. Caseus could feel his lungs crying for oxygen as his vision went blurry. Suddenly, Vinda let out a short cry of pain, and his grip released. Caseus coughed and focused his vision, and saw Daros standing over Vinda, the pirate's own blade plunged into his back. Daros was in shock, breathing heavily, realizing what he'd just done. Daros! The fusion cutter! Hurry! Daros snapped momentarily from his shocked state, grabbed the fusion cutter, and finished slicing through Caseus' restraints. Sit here. Stay calm. Daros nodded as Caseus ran to Corbin and helped him up before cutting through his restraints as well. Corbin groaned and popped his jaw back into place with a loud snap. Ugh. Ugh, pirate scum. Come on, we need to get out of here. Daros stared at Vinda's body. Come on, kid. We can't stay here. We need you to help us find the captain. Daros was breathing heavily, panicking. Caseus walked to him and held his shoulders. Daros, look at me. You didn't have a choice. He would have killed all of us. You saved us. That was very brave. But we're not safe yet. We need you to help us sneak our way to the captain. After that, we'll get you out of here, I promise. Daros slowly calmed himself and nodded. Suddenly, a voice came over the ship's comm channel.
Daros, Captain Cantu wants to see you immediately. Get your hide up here now.
Caseus looked at the body. We need to move fast. If they find him, they'll be looking all over for us. Can you get us around without attracting attention? Yes. There's storage tunnels beneath the floor. 2 rooms over. They use them to hide things they steal. They go all throughout the ship. Follow from below and don't make a sound. All right. Let's go.